Hey people, welcome. Welcome to a Q&A, a YouTube Q&A. So we are going to get straight into it. So basically I asked over on Instagram, I asked you to ask me questions. Now I've got the questions, now I'm answering them. Q&A. So I've got 10 questions which I'm going to run through very quickly regarding hypertrophy, training, nutrition, etc, etc. So we get into it. So numero uno. I don't know much after that, so I think the rest of it is going to be in English. So, question number one is never train again, but be jacked, or train and never grow. That's so easy. I would train and never grow. I don't think I could not train. Yeah, even if I was absolutely huge. That was very easy. Maybe potentially let me know in the comment section which one you would go for there. Question number two. Do you recommend any joint supplementation? If so, what? The only joint supplementation I recommend is, I'm joking, that's illegal. So I think that a lot of joint health is going to be down to exercise selection. Basically not training like a dick. So is the supplementation going to... Are you going to see much of a benefit, basically, if you're training like a dick? No. If you train very well, but you've got joint kind of wear and tear, joint issues, is it going to be the difference between shit joints and absolute great joints? Probably not. Is it damage limitation? Yes. And then what do I recommend? Support Max do, I think it's just called Support Max Joint. That tends to be okay, and that tends to be what I recommend to basically all clients. So yeah, again, don't expect like absolutely game-changing results here, much like any supplement, to be honest. Yeah, just side diet, basically exercise selection reigns supreme in that situation. So number three, when's your next show? Officially next year. That will probably be around like maybe August, September next year, so 2023. 23 is the Michael Jordan year, so it'll be and the David Beckham. But anyway, we'll go Michael Jordan, it sounds cooler. That's definitely the year, I think. This year, realistically, I put on a lot of muscle, but just nowhere near enough to be competitive, as we said in the previous vlog. Number four, what do you make of all the deaths in bodybuilding? How can we stop this? Obvious answer would be to stop doing steroids. There's like a safer use model for people who potentially could benefit from like that side of things. I am very naive in that regard. Like I don't like. For me, I have a very addictive personality, so if I even remotely look into that side of things, I'm probably going to do it. So I don't really want to know much about it, but I'm sure you can do things in a bit of a safer way. It'll probably be more expensive. You'll probably need consistent scans, blood work, etc, etc. But yeah, I think that the overarching message is if you want to stop people from dying, yeah, I probably wouldn't inject. That's my advice. And my advice is to stay, unless you're going to the Olympia, well, I don't ever see any need for people to ever inject. If you're doing like a PCA show or a Two Bros show, or I just don't see the point in it, to be honest, unless you've got goals and aspirations to actually be the best in the world. Yeah, I don't know. And there's just something just not mentally right with that side of things, in my opinion. Like I just think you're a little bit tapped if you do something like that. I think it's purely from the fact that I'm a little bit jealous that people can push a needle willingly into themselves. Like, just for me, the fear of fucking needles is just, I can't, like, even thinking about it now, it's giving me mild anxiety and sweats. So anyway, I don't think you're right in the fact that you can just willingly push a needle inside you. Anyway, question five, what does your ab routine look like? At the minute, fairly basic. I involve a crunching movement, I involve an isometric movement, so like a plank. I'm even doing vacuums in the morning. But both of them will be more than enough to see maximum ab development. You could also involve like a torso rotation as well. But yeah, that's what I personally do, just a crunch and an isometric, more than enough. You got to think at the bottom of the hole you are doing an isometric hold anyway, because you are bracing. Same with an RDL. So yeah, I definitely think you can get away with not doing it. Are you going to be maximizing ab development by not training abs? I mean, I don't think you are. Question number 6. How would you stop lumbar from hurting on a hack? I also feel my hamstrings a ton, so how to involve more quad? Okay, lumbar sounds like you're too far up the pad, which means when you go to that end position, what's happening is your lumbar is just curving off like this. So what you would do is basically push your foot further back on the pad, and that would actually stop that. And in terms of how to involve more quad than hamstrings, press through. So you've got like your big toe, or just imagine this is your big toe, this is your little toe. I would press with these two rather than trying to press with your heel. If you press with your heel, it's probably engaging a little bit more underside, so hamstrings. So yeah, I would press with you, almost like you're kind of initiating a tiptoe. Think like that. So push back, think, press with tiptoe, and welcome to wham quads. Number 7, do you think shoulder pressing is unnecessary for shoulder development? Okay, I in fact think it's probably quite necessary, right? You gotta think, when you're in the shoulder press position, here, right, here to realistically here, where the hell do you load, how the hell do you load that position unless you're not doing a shoulder press, right? You can't physically, unless you're doing like a butterfly raise, right? You can't physically load from here to here, right? You gotta think that's a function of a shoulder, right? The shoulder is literally here to here and then here to here. It's a function of the shoulder, right? My shoulders are doing this. So you can't tell me it's not unnecessary, right? To load this portion in order for maximize your dose. The caveat to this and why people say it's unnecessary is because it works like front delt and it works like upper chest. It's like, name one person who doesn't want more front delt and more upper chest, because I can guarantee it's probably all of you, right? And even still, if that is the argument, why row? Because it involves the rear delt. It's like, why do rear delt work, right? When you can just row. It's like kind of that argument. Like people always go on the rear delt argument, but then or the front delt argument, but then never like backtrack when we talk about rear delt. It's just like, it's kind of weird. But realistically, you're never going to load in this position like in a butterfly raise. You're probably not going to lift up like a 50 kilogram dumbbell above your head. So in that regard, yeah, you can't load the delt in any other way unless you're shoulder pressing. And I can kind of get the argument about fatigue because that kind of happens, but the people who consistently talk about fatigue and central nervous system fatigue are the people that probably don't get that because they're not training hard enough and they're not training heavy enough. So I won't worry too much about that. And if you're sleeping, you're recovering, etc., all that good stuff in between sessions, then you'll be okay. So yeah, and then I guess the overarching message is just try it as well. Like try it and see how your shoulders react. If they react very well, they probably will. Then you can tell me if they're unnecessary or not. The question number 8, how much muscle realistically can natural bodybuilders pack on per year? I can't necessarily give you a firm answer because obviously genetic play, training methods, frequency, meals, recovery all play a massive part. I would say if you're absolutely kind of nailing everything, I do think that you can gain more than 1 pound per year. I know this is like a shock to most people, right? But I hate this notion that you can only gain 1 pound per year. Like, even if you can, why the fuck are you thinking like that, right? I can guarantee the people who think that they're going to only gain 1 pound of muscle are going to eat, sleep, and train like they are. As soon as you think, I don't know, I can gain like 5-10 pounds of muscle here, you're probably going to do that. So yeah, I think that is all about like just nailing absolutely everything and then just seeing what happens. And not thinking, oh, I can only gain 1 pound of muscle, I'm going to relax here. Because then you will gain only 1 pound of muscle. Anyway, number 9. What am I missing if I only sleep 4 hours per night, body composition wise? You only pack on 1 pound of muscle per year. You're missing a lot. Like your general like lethargy would be down, your hunger hormones will be all over the place, your brain fog will probably be in play, cognitive function not that great, you'll probably be missing that extra gear in the gym performance will be pretty shit, man. In terms like if I basically said I'll clone you, and the clone you is eating and sleeping 8 to 9 hours per day meticulously versus the person who's sleeping like 4 hours, I can pretty much guarantee, give it a year's time, this person won't even recognize this person, because this person will probably be exactly the same as he was when he started. The person who's absolutely nailing everything is just fucking light years ahead of this guy. So yeah, fucking sleep. We'll make this last question. Do you think TUT, so time under tension, is important for hypertrophy? Yes, however, not in the traditional sense of 1, 2, 3. You got to think that if you basically progressively overload, if you did 100 for 10, and then the next week you did 100 for 11, that is more time under tension, right? That's what people can't really get their head around. They're like, oh shit. And then you kind of say that and they're like, oh, that's exactly kind of what we're talking about right now. So I think a general rule of thumb is you control your eccentrics, have powerful concentrics, and then progressively overload over time. And then you probably don't need to consider the time under tension situation, right? So yeah, that's pretty much where I stand on the time under tension situation. As long as my clients are lifting pretty reasonably, they're controlling the movements, then yeah, I'm not too bothered about tempo as such, just as long as it's not like overly quick and kind of missing contractions and kind of missing even the contractile range in that position. Anyway, YouTube Q&A. Peace.